Hi friends, welcome to the Solar Dialogues. Let's delve into the radiant world of the solar energy, a revolution that has swept across nations, reshaping our approach towards energy production and paving the path towards our energy requirement and a sustainable future. My name is Sudhir Das. I am the chairperson and convener of Green Urja Conclave, India's biggest think tank advocacy forum to speak about renewable energy and green technology. My organization is committed for policy propagations and advocacy of sustainable energy and clean environment. So Chris, welcome to the podcast, The Solar Dialogue. Let's start by delving into the heart of our conversation. How do you see the industry has evolved in your country in shaping the future of solar energy, and what opportunity and challenges lie ahead in this dynamic landscape?
Hello everyone, and Sudhir, thanks for having me. I'm Chris Sipe. I'm Chief Growth Officer for High Five Permits. I've been in the energy industry for 24 years. Half of my career was in the oil and gas industry in Australia, and then I returned to the US about 13 years ago to work in renewable energy, and have worked in the manufacturing space, in the EPC space, and now in the engineering and permitting space. Since the time I've been in solar, I've seen huge evolutions, I guess. When I started in the market 13 years ago, I started in the Midwest, in Minnesota and Wisconsin and Chicago. And there wasn't very much solar at all in those areas, and everything was concentrated to the West Coast. We've seen the West Coast fill up with solar, and now the West Coast needs a lot of our attention. And certainly there is a lot more solar going up in the Midwest. We've seen some hills and valleys with supply issues and tariff issues and changes in the NEM and the ways that you have to put up solar over the years, but it has definitely evolved and is growing, and hopefully grows at an even brisker pace in the future.
So here exactly I have to ask you a question. You being a veteran in the solar industry in the US itself, where does the US solar industry stand today? I mean, is it fully matured or it's evolving? So what is your opinion on the growth of the industry?
It's really evolving at the moment. I remember having a lunch with Jigar Shah, who is a veteran of the solar industry, about 10 years ago, and he said that the solar industry would follow that of the cellular phone industry, in that there would be a lot of companies trying to create like a national type of environment, and then it would go back to more localized. And I think that's happening right now. We're seeing there's been a lot of commercialization of solar, and a lot of people taking advantage of that commercialization. And I think now that it's turning back into more of a grassroots type of product. I think that it's time now for the industry to grow into a staple. I mean, when I go overseas, I was recently back in Australia, and I looked out the window, and it's just the staple of the country. Or in Melbourne, for instance, almost every house has some sort of solar on it, because it's just a given that you would use that space. So I think that we're at a precipice now where solar needs to become just a given for people.
So I have heard a phrase, like my American friends always saying, if US wants to take leadership, so they have to demonstrate their true conduct and character, so the rest of the world will also start following. So how is the federal government supporting the US solar industry?
Well, I think that it was all, I guess for the last 13 years of being in the industry in the United States, we're always holding our breath to make sure that the federal incentives stay in place. And, there was a time period there where we thought that that we were going to lose the solar tax credit, but I'm, really happy to see that the Inflation Reduction Act has now been passed, and we're on track to have those incentives for quite a while now. I think that the one thing that the US government should be doing on a whole is having a national conversation about solar, because it's such a state-driven thing and there's really no national discussion or forums. And I also think that we need to look at all of the hurdles that people have to go through to put up solar, for interconnection documentation, things like that. It could all be looked at a national level to make it easier, and also any of the tariffs that are on solar, and really examining those. A lot of the product cost of solar equipment in the United States is because it comes from overseas and requires tariffs and taxes. So whatever we can do to drive that price down makes it more accessible to more people.
So I think, like with the global warming threatening the mankind at an alarming way, and we also are struggling to deal with the climate change and its repercussions. So that said, if you have to get rid of pollutions, the environmental issues, the time is perhaps a high time that we should get rid of the fossil fuel and other things. So that said, what are the basic things you feel like to create a good, vibrant ecosystem for the solar industry to flourish?
For me, it's always been, I've been such a big proponent of distributed solar and having, microgrids and things like that to make sure that our infrastructure is in good repair so that we can easily share energy with each other in neighborhoods. So ecosystem, literally, in the distribution and transmission systems within any country. The continued money invested in technology. New technology has to be driven towards. We need to start having intellectual infrastructure so that we can build that technology. And then, again, having a global discussion.
So the next question I have for you, Krish, do you think solar is the best form of energy in the renewable domain, or any other form of energy can also take over the solar energy market? Does there any internal threat from the renewable energy sector?
No, I think that one thing that I spent a lot of time working in wind technology as well in Australia, and people would, this is back in the day where people would be like wanting to put a small windmill on their house or something like that rather than solar, and I would always say, solar, you don't need to have a study and everything to find out exactly where it goes. You can put solar up anywhere and it's going to work, right?
Thank you so very much. I appreciate your knowledge as well as the perspective, and I would really request you to give your closing remarks for our viewers.
Well, thank you for having me again. I always tell people when they ask what I do, and I say I work in renewable energy, and I say I've been working in energy in some form for the last 25 years of my life, since I was in my 20s. And I say I learn something new every day. And I really believe in this industry, and I believe that we need to be there to take care of our planet. And I think there are amazing things to come, and I can't wait to see what's in the future for both of our countries.
Thank you so very much, Chris. It really has been very great and very knowledgeable in interacting with you.
Thank you, Sudhir.
Thank you very much, viewers, for watching the Solar Dialogues. Stay tuned for our next episodes.